Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Well, he's back. Bill McKendry is with us, the author of Do More Good, to Moving Nonprofits from Good to Growth. The book was released last week, and it's number one. Well, of course, Bill, we knew that, right?
Yeah, right. It was, you just don't know what to expect when you release a book like this. But yeah, we're trending number one on Amazon in our category, and that's a huge blessing for.
Awesome.
So.
Now, when you release a book like that, is there anything, what do you do on that day? Do you throw a party or do you wait till you get all the reviews? What do you do?
Yeah, we're kind of gathering all the reviews and stuff like that. But I have a PR team, we have a marketing team and stuff like that. So we're pushing stuff out, and, we're hoping that the results, end up just like they were. Right. I think the cool thing is I'm one ahead of Matt Damon, who came out with a book.
Wow.
On, like water purification and stuff like that. So, between
you need to put that out everywhere, Bill.
Exactly. It's like, as long as I'm ahead of Matt Damon, I'm happy. So.
It's an interesting business. Now, your background is branding and being a business leader. And isn't it interesting? I mean, I'm an old guy. I'm 60, almost 62 years old. And, nowadays, and for how long, Dan, we have a social media person or persons that work with us. And without that social media, I mean, we'd go nowhere, right? And so isn't it amazing how you have to meet with a team? And that is crucial for getting your message across. Not only that this amazing book is out, but little pieces and parts. So what the strategy when you talk to folks, do you go, do you talk about things like that? Say, hey, your why is important. Absolutely. But this is how you get your why out.
Yeah. So a couple things on that front. One is I spent a day with the top 25 young Christian influencers at David Brooks' house, who writes a columnist for the New York Times, right? And they were all gathered and talking about the state of Christianity and how we communicate today. One of the things that came away with that was what was so interesting is their positivity of this age, right? Mm-hmm. So we're living in an age with social media, and it's easy to say we're living in a tough age, and we are. I mean, the world's always tough, right?
Yeah.
And so what was really cool, though, is hearing from their perspective, there's never been an easier time to reach people because of social media and because of the media platforms that are out there. So, we can kick around and say, these are the worst of times, but the reality is this may actually be the best of times to spread the gospel. So that's one message that I think everybody needs to hear. And then, for nonprofit organizations and ministries and stuff like that, they really do need to see themselves as a media channel, right? So they need to see themselves almost like, an ABC or an NBC, and they need to put out content as if they are a media channel, because these media channels, as you just said, are so critical to reaching people today. And because you can be so targeted in who you're reaching, it's just an awesome platform, but you got to take it super seriously. I think Forbes magazine, when they made the switch from heavy print to heavy digital, they talked about quantity, quality, variety, and which was really critical. And Forbes was one of the first print publications to be successful in the digital world. And it's because they implemented that really simple strategy.
That's good stuff. We're talking to Bill McKendry, domoregood.org. And just a little side note here to tell you what a big deal Bill is. Because, we already know Bill is a big deal. But to tell you what a big deal he is, he's getting ready to go meet with the Chosen folks, the people that do the Chosen series that we all know and love. If you haven't seen it, I'm telling you right now, you got to watch it. He's going down to meet them, hopefully, weather permitting, in Texas soon. What are you going to do with those guys down there, Bill?
Yeah, we're actually talking about their approach to the market and how their messaging to the market. When you really look at who they're reaching and their desire of who they want to reach, while they're super successful in the Christian market, you have to say, how do we even reach a greater percentage of the Christian market? Yeah. And then how do we even reach outside of, the Christian market to maybe the cultural Christians or even skeptics, right? Because we really believe that, in looking at their content, that's an authentic portrayal of Jesus that a lot of people have not experienced. And, I say, the shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept, right? But, if the shortest verse, I think, in the Chosen's approach is Jesus winked. and and it's just beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down. I was an early adopter because of my son, and we watched the first 2 episodes when they first came out. And my wife asked me, because I can be very critical of Christian media,
Mhm.
and and all of us can be, right? And she
Right,
looked at me, well, what
right.
do you think? And I just said, that's the most authentic portrayal of Jesus I've ever seen on film in my entire life. More
Yeah.
people need to see this. And so that's what we're talking to them about, is how do we create an environment where more people can even experience this? Because it's wonderful content, and they're planning to do this for a minimum of 7 years. So it's awesome.
And they've done phenomenal. I mean, not having the benefit of like a Netflix or a major platform that they can put
Right.
it out on. They're doing it
Right.
themselves, but the word gets out. You put out quality stuff, and people watch.
It also is in the history of crowdfunding for an entertainment product. It has raised more money than any other entertainment product in the history of crowdfunding. So that tells you the grassroots support that they have, and they're when you put out phenomenal content like they're doing, you're going to attract a crowd. So, but more people need to see this. I mean, even Christians. In my neighborhood, I live in West Michigan, and West Michigan is notoriously, Christian. And we went to a Christmas party, and I started mentioning The Chosen to people, and I was surprised. I would say 8 out of 10 of my neighbors had never heard of The Chosen.
Wow.
So,
Really?
so there's got to be some more effort. They're doing a great job too, getting out there and getting distribution, and they're very active on social media, but there are times though where you got to get out into the major media and create the top of funnel awareness.
Right.
And that's what we're working with them on, is thinking in that way.
Awesome.
Wouldn't you have loved to be at the table with them in the very beginning when they're trying? I mean, probably a handful of them, I don't know, maybe you do know, throwing ideas out. How do we get this out here? Crowdfunding. Oh, that'll never work. But somebody had the idea. Let's go for it. And just the way that they did it, it's almost, and I know it didn't, but it almost blew up overnight, didn't it?
Mhm.
It did. Yeah. It wasn't an overnight success. I mean, they've been working really hard at it.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But they do some of the things that I, even in my book Do More Good, that I preach to ministries and nonprofit organizations, is sometimes you got to put on your business hat, and you can't be afraid of taking risks, and you can't be afraid of failing, right? And because if you're afraid of taking risks and you're afraid of failing, there is no way you're going to reach the things that you can possibly reach, right? And so you need to invest in things like crowdfunding and creating awareness, getting out there on social media, right? And talking. Dallas Jenkins, who's the director of The Chosen and one of the core conceptual people behind everything, right? He is so active on social media. He takes his branding and marketing as seriously as he takes his content, and as a result, I know he's probably stretched super thin, but you know what? This is his business. This is what he considers to be important. And so he's investing his time and his energy to grow it like a business person, which is it's a beautiful thing to see.
Bill McKendry with us again. Do More Good. Check it out. It's #1 on Amazon. And this kind of segues into a question I had written down here, Bill, for you. You talk about clear communication. It's crucial to engage with the next generation. That's quality communication, isn't it? I mean, you can't just throw stuff out there into the wind and see, or against the wall to see what sticks. It's got to be. And how do you do that?
Well, I point back to Jesus, quite honestly, and I say 35% of the first three gospels were parables, right? So Jesus was a storyteller, but he didn't just tell stories. He just didn't throw things out there, right? He was a strategic storyteller. He taught moral lessons through stories, right? But there was a point to his story, right? And there was an expected outcome of that story, right? So if you look at Jesus's pattern of communications, it's really not that different than branding and marketing. I went to college to learn about marketing and advertising. I probably should have just studied Jesus, because he's the worst communicator, right? And the reality is he really taught us very well how to communicate. And so getting out there and communicating is key, but being strategic, right? I say, marketing isn't just throwing stuff out to the marketplace like you're saying. It's about positioning. It's about differentiation. And if you listen to Jesus's message, he was all about differentiation from the world, and really thinking about how you need to change and modify Well, that's no different whether you're marketing the chosen, whether you're marketing your ministry or whatever. You need to communicate very clearly to people and use storytelling very well, but you have to be a strategic communicator. You can't just talk. I started a film school called Compass College of Film and Media out of Grand Rapids, and we've been around now for about 25 years. And the greatest thing that we fight, quite honestly, when we're trying to attract students to our film school, is they say, "I don't want to make crappy Christian movies." And then when we tell them we're not going to force you to make crappy Christian movies, we're going to teach you how to make really good ones, but we're also going to teach you how to reflect Jesus in your work and when you work with people, right? So that's the platform we're giving you, right?
Good.
And that's just really key. Is young people today are looking at how Christians communicate, and they're frustrated, and they're saying it's not as relevant as it needs to be for today's world. How do we do this better? And so you got a whole generation of people that are searching for this, but I've sat with some pretty senior people like Beth Moore and Andy Stanley, and they're asking the same questions. It's like, how do we communicate better to reach culture better today?
Yeah.
Yeah, you bring
real
up
quick, Bill. What are you hearing about the book so far? It's just out freshly. What are you hearing so far?
I'm still waiting for my Amazon reviews to come in because all these people keep buying it, and so what I'm hearing from people is what I expect. I mean, this is probably more of a B2B book than it is a B2C book, meaning that it's really written toward Christian ministries. It's really written toward nonprofit leaders, right? So, but really, quite honestly, anybody that sits on a board of a nonprofit organization or really wants some insight on how to help a nonprofit grow through communications, which is really critical to any organization, quite honestly, they can get a lot out of this book. They'll be a better board member. You'll be a better leader. And so that's the feedback that I'm getting from people is like, wow, where has this been? And finally somebody has assembled a blueprint and a roadmap. So I don't just tell people, general concepts. I get right down into the nitty gritty of this is exactly what you need to do as well.
Awesome.
Good on you, Bill. Thanks, man. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
And we know there's more to come. We'd love to catch up with you in May if you're up for it.
Absolutely. We got another big thing coming out. And I would if people want to check it out, it's called HeGetsUs.com, and go to the YouTube videos of He Gets Us. It's a campaign that we've tested in 10 markets. And it's gone extremely well. We've gotten over 30 million views on YouTube of our videos just in 10 markets. Okay. And it's gone so well, we're going to go national March Madness. And I have to do my research on this, but it may be the largest Christian campaign in the history of this country launching in March Madness called He Gets Us. So
we'll have to check that out. Thanks for doing that as well. HeGetsUs.com is the place to go to. If you're watching Facebook Live, YouTube Live, listening on the radio. And then the other website, again, is domoregood.org. Check out that book. And as Bill mentioned, not just general stuff. I mean, he gets specific. And that's what we need, right? Yes, exactly what we need. Bill McKendry, let's check up with you as somewhere around May or so, Bill. Bless you. Thank you for your time. You're amazing. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.